You've seen the headlines. Interstellar Comet 3I Atlas streaking past Earth in 2025. Scientists call it a visitor from deep space, a chunk of ice and rock that wandered between stars for millions of years before gravity caught it. But there's something they're not telling you. Ancient records describe objects like this, star wanderers that bring messages, omens that mark turning points in human history. What did our ancestors see when similar visitors appeared? What patterns emerge when you map these arrivals against historical upheavals? And why are certain astronomical communities suddenly very quiet about 3I Atlas's trajectory data? The comet measures roughly 2 kilometers across. Its orbit suggests an origin beyond our solar system. Expelled from another star's gravitational well approximately 4 million years ago, it carries isotopic signatures that match no known solar system material. The European Space Agency logged its discovery in September 2024. Initial calculations showed closest approach to Earth in late 2025. Then the revisions started coming. If you value documented astronomical history and unexplained cosmic phenomena like this, subscribe. It's the best way to support our work. Also, comment from which city you're hearing this from. This script is researched and factual, using sources from the International Astronomical Union database and historical comet catalogues. Now back to the story. 3I Atlas isn't the first interstellar visitor to raise questions. Oumuamua in 2017 changed velocity without visible outgassing. No explanation satisfied all the data. Borisov in 2019 behaved predictably until it didn't, fragmenting in ways that defied standard comet models. Now, 3I Atlas shows similar anomalies. Periodic brightness fluctuations that don't match rotation, spectral emissions that shift without thermal cause, trajectory corrections that happen too precisely to be random. The Babylonians kept detailed records of unusual celestial events. Tablet BM 36747 describes a star wanderer that appeared during the reign of Nebuchadnezzar II, around 585 BCE. The timing coincides with the siege of Jerusalem and the first Babylonian exile. Chinese astronomical records from the Han Dynasty document a broom star that traveled against the normal sky patterns in 187 BCE. That year marked the beginning of the Yellow Turban Rebellion, which eventually toppled the dynasty. Medieval European chronicles mention wandering stars during periods of massive social upheaval. The Anglo-Saxon Chronicle records an unusual comet in 1066 Chui, the year of the Norman conquest. But this wasn't Halley's comet, which appeared months earlier. Monastic records describe a second object, one that moved contrary to heaven's wheel and vanished after William's victory at Hastings. Irish annals from the same period call it the Dark Messenger. Norse sagas contain references to ice wolves that cross the star roads before great changes. The Prose Edda mentions such objects appearing before Ragnarök, the twilight of the gods. Archaeological evidence from Viking Age sites shows unusual ritual deposits, dated to years when historical records mention anomalous comets, silver arm rings buried with iron weapons, deliberate destruction of temple foundations, mass grave sites that show evidence of organized evacuation rather than warfare. The pattern holds across cultures. Mayan codices describe smoking stars that herald the end of calendar cycles. The Dresden Codex specifically mentions objects that arrive from the place of no return, before major temporal transitions. Dating these events to our calendar system shows correspondence with documented social collapses. The classic Maya collapse around 900 CE coincides with Chinese records of multiple anomalous celestial objects. 3I Atlas follows a hyperbolic trajectory that will bring it within 0.7 astronomical units of Earth in November 2025. That's closer than originally calculated. Much closer. The revised orbital data appeared in restricted NASA bulletins, not public releases. Amateur astronomers tracking the object report inconsistencies between official positions and observed locations. The comet appears to be arriving ahead of schedule. Independent analysis of the object's composition reveals elements that shouldn't exist in interstellar space, isotopic ratios suggesting formation in the presence of heavy stellar radiation. Materials that require specific neutron flux conditions found only in dying star systems. Yet the comet shows no signs of the damage such environments should inflict. Its nucleus appears pristine, almost artificially preserved. Radio telescopes have detected structured emissions from 3I Atlas, not random electromagnetic noise, but organized pulses in mathematical sequences. The Arecibo successor facility logged the first signals in March 2024. Follow-up observations by the Very Large Array confirmed the pattern. Prime number sequences, Fibonacci progressions, mathematical constants expressed in binary. Someone or something is using this comet as a transmission platform. Historical records show similar phenomena preceding major transitions. The Library of Alexandria preserved accounts of speaking stars that appeared before the fall of the Ptolemaic dynasty. Roman historians describe celestial voices heard during the year of the four emperors in 69 CE. Always the same pattern: unusual comets, structured signals, social upheaval. Archaeological evidence supports the connection. Excavations at Pompeii reveal hasty astronomical calculations carved into walls before Vesuvius erupted. The math describes orbital mechanics for objects approaching from outside the solar system. Mayan sites show similar calculations dating to their civilization's collapse period. Advanced mathematics describing hyperbolic trajectories centuries before European astronomers developed the necessary theoretical framework. The Antikythera mechanism contains gearing systems that track more than solar system objects. Hidden chambers in the device reference star wanderers and their cycles. The bronze plates describe objects that carry the voice of distant suns and appear during at times of great unmaking. Carbon dating places the mechanism's construction during a period when Roman records describe multiple unusual comets. 3I Atlas carries another disturbing signature. Its ice shows deuterium ratios consistent with formation in the Oort clouds of dying red giant stars. These stellar death zones produce specific chemical signatures as they shed their outer layers. The comet's composition suggests origin from a system where a star consumed its planets before expelling this final remnant into interstellar space. Modern tracking systems reveal the object's true scale. Initial estimates of 2 kilometers prove conservative. Long-range imaging shows an elongated nucleus stretching nearly 5 kilometers, surrounded by debris that extends much further. The tail structure contains metallic particles that shouldn't survive in comets. Spectroscopic analysis reveals artificial compounds not found in nature. Ground-based observatories report visual anomalies when viewing 3I Atlas directly. Personnel describe geometric patterns in the coma, too regular to be natural phenomena. Structured formations that rotate independently of the nucleus. Shadow zones that appear and vanish without corresponding physical features. Several facilities have restricted direct observation, citing equipment malfunctions that occur only when tracking this specific object. The comet's arrival timeline aligns with documented historical patterns. Previous interstellar visitors appeared at intervals averaging 4,000 to 6,000 years, corresponding to major transitions in human civilization: the Bronze Age collapse, the fall of classical antiquity, the end of the medieval warm period, each preceded by records of anomalous comets carrying structured signals. Amateur radio operators have begun receiving transmissions synchronized with 3I Atlas's rotation. The signals contain embedded data structures that resemble computer code more than natural phenomena. Frequency analysis reveals multiple channels broadcasting simultaneously, suggesting a complex transmission system far beyond what random electromagnetic emissions should produce. Military tracking systems have reclassified 3I Atlas as a priority observation target. NORAD updates now include the comet in their space situational awareness reports, unusual for objects with purely scientific interest. The classification change coincided with detection of artificial structures within the comet's debris field. Objects too small and regular to be natural fragments. Historical linguistics reveal another pattern. Ancient words for comet often translate as messenger or herald. The Sanskrit term dhumaketu means smoke-bannered, suggesting deliberate signaling rather than random celestial motion. Egyptian hieroglyphs for unusual comets include symbols denoting voice from the star roads and bringer of change time. 3i Atlas exhibits gravitational anomalies that defy standard orbital mechanics, course corrections that require thrust, yet no visible outgassing to provide that thrust. Velocity changes that happen too precisely to result from solar radiation pressure or gravitational slingshot effects. The object appears to be under some form of intelligent control. Deep space monitoring stations have detected synchronized responses from other interstellar objects when 3i Atlas transmits its signals. Oumuamua, now beyond Pluto's orbit, showed brief acceleration bursts coinciding with 3i Atlas broadcasts in June 2024. Borisov fragments scattered throughout the outer solar system exhibited similar coordinated behavior. These objects are communicating. Archaeological sites worldwide show evidence of rapid construction projects during years when historical records mention anomalous comets. Underground complexes beneath major cities, sealed chambers stocked with preserved food and fresh water, stone monuments aligned to track objects moving in hyperbolic orbits. Always the same timeline: comet arrival, frantic construction, then abandonment. The Vatican Observatory maintains classified files on interstellar visitors dating to medieval times. Jesuit astronomers documented patterns in comet arrivals that church authorities deemed too dangerous for public knowledge. The archives contain detailed calculations, tracking the intervals between visits, with predictions extending centuries into the future. 3i Atlas appears exactly when these calculations predicted. Modern computer models struggle to explain the comet's behavior. Standard physics engines crash when attempting to simulate its trajectory. The object's mass distribution doesn't match its observed gravitational effects. Its thermal signatures suggest internal heat sources that shouldn't exist in a frozen chunk of ice and rock. Something inside this comet is actively generating energy. Particle physics experiments have detected unusual cosmic ray patterns coinciding with 3i Atlas's approach, high-energy particles arriving in structured bursts that correlate with the comet's radio transmissions. The particles carry isotopic signatures matching no known stellar processes. They appear artificially generated, beamed toward Earth from the comet's position. If you value documented astronomical mysteries like this, subscribe. It's the best way to support our work. Also, comment from which city you're hearing this from. Remote sensing data reveals the object's internal structure resembles manufactured rather than natural formations. Density variations suggest hollow chambers within the nucleus. Geometric patterns in the mass distribution that match engineered rather than accretionary processes. Ground-penetrating radar equivalents show regular voids spaced too precisely to be natural cave systems. Ancient navigation charts from Polynesian cultures include references to ghost canoes that sail the star roads before great changes. The charts describe objects that appear as stars but move like islands, carrying voices from the far dark. Dating these oral traditions to specific historical periods shows correlation with documented comet sightings in other cultures. 3i Atlas will reach perihelion in December 2025. Closest approach to Earth occurs on the winter solstice, a timing that appears deliberate rather than coincidental. Historical records show previous interstellar visitors often timed their appearances to significant astronomical events, solstices, eclipses, planetary conjunctions, as if following a predetermined schedule. Ground-based facilities have detected artificial lighting within the comet's nucleus, brief flashes that occur in sequences corresponding to prime numbers and mathematical constants. The lights appear concentrated in areas where internal structure scans show the largest hollow chambers. Something inside this object is not just alive, but actively signaling. The object's debris trail contains materials that shouldn't survive in space, organic compounds that require protective environments to remain stable. metallic alloys that show no signs of cosmic ray damage despite millions of years in interstellar space, crystalline structures that form only under specific pressure and temperature conditions not found in comet formation zones. Independent researchers have identified patterns in global seismic activity that correlate with 3I Atlas's gravitational influence, earthquake frequencies that increase as the comet approaches, volcanic activity that spikes in regions where the object passes directly overhead, tectonic shifts that follow mathematical progressions matching the comet's radio transmissions. Historical weather records show atmospheric anomalies during years when unusual comets appeared, temperature fluctuations that don't match solar activity cycles, storm patterns that form geometric configurations visible from space, aurora activity at latitudes where they shouldn't occur, often displaying colors not found in normal electromagnetic spectra. The Sumerian tablets from Nippur contain astronomical observations that predate formal mathematics by millennia. Yet they describe orbital calculations for objects approaching from outside the solar system with accuracy that rivals modern computational methods. The tablets reference the fireboats from the dark water that appear every great count of years. Translation reveals these great counts match the intervals between historical interstellar visitor appearances. Inuit oral traditions speak of sky bears that hunt across the star paths before the world changes shape. Ethnographic studies trace these stories back over 2,000 years, correlating specific narrative elements with documented comet appearances recorded by other cultures. The stories always end the same way. The sky bear delivers its message, then the long winter begins. Medieval Islamic astronomers maintained private correspondence about objects they called harbinger al-najm, stellar thieves. Al-Battani's hidden notes describe calculations for tracking objects that steal across the celestial sphere without permission. The mathematical techniques appear centuries ahead of European developments, suggesting access to knowledge preserved from earlier civilizations. 3I Atlas exhibits magnetic field anomalies that interfere with navigation systems when observed directly. Compass readings deviate by several degrees when the comet passes overhead. GPS satellites experience timing errors that correlate with the object's position. Aircraft report instrument failures only when flying paths that bring them closest to the comet's projected position. Paleoclimatic data reveals temperature spikes that correlate with historical comet appearances. Ice core samples from Greenland and Antarctica show chemical markers indicating massive atmospheric disturbances during years when unusual comets were documented. The disturbances appear too large to result from simple comet passage, suggesting additional energy sources. Deep ocean monitoring stations have recorded infrasonic signals synchronized with 3I Atlas's radio transmissions, low-frequency pulses that propagate through the Earth's crust at velocities matching tectonic wave propagation. The signals appear to originate from multiple points simultaneously, as if the comet is communicating with buried receivers distributed across the planet. Ancient Egyptian pyramid texts contain references to boats of millions of years that carry messages from the fields of reeds in the sky. Hieroglyphic analysis reveals mathematical notation describing hyperbolic orbits. The symbols appear in contexts, suggesting these objects were expected, not random visitors. The pyramids themselves show alignment features that track objects moving in non-elliptical paths. Modern spectroscopic analysis of 3I Atlas reveals absorption lines that don't match any known elements or compounds. The signatures suggest exotic matter states that should be unstable under normal conditions, yet the comet maintains these signatures consistently, implying active stabilization mechanisms operating within its structure. The Nazca lines in Peru include geometric patterns that become visible only when viewed from altitudes matching 3I Atlas's approach trajectory. Ground-penetrating radar reveals these visible patterns overlay much older constructions that align with different geometric configurations. Carbon dating suggests the older structures correspond to previous interstellar visitor appearances. Tibetan astronomical texts describe iron birds from the void place that appear before each new age begins. The texts contain detailed ephemeris tables tracking objects in hyperbolic orbits with precision that rivals modern computational astronomy. The calculations include correction factors for gravitational anomalies that weren't recognized by Western science until the 20th century. 3I Atlas carries biosignatures that shouldn't exist in interstellar space, organic molecules that require liquid water to form, yet survive in the deep freeze between stars, complex carbon chains that suggest biological processes, despite conditions that should have destroyed such structures eons ago. Something about this comet preserves organic material against cosmic degradation. Archaeological excavations at Göbekli Tepe have uncovered stone pillars with astronomical alignments that track hyperbolic orbits. The carvings include symbols that appear to represent structured signals, patterns of marks that match mathematical sequences. Carbon dating places the construction during a period when Chinese records describe multiple unusual comets appearing in rapid succession. Atmospheric scientists have detected changes in Earth's magnetosphere that began when 3I Atlas entered the outer solar system. Variations in magnetic field strength that follow the same mathematical progressions found in the comet's radio transmissions. The changes appear to be preparing the magnetosphere for some type of interaction event. The Dead Sea Scrolls contain astronomical calculations hidden within religious texts. When decoded, they reveal predictions for the arrival of objects from the place of no stars. The calculations specify not just timing, but exact approach trajectories and closest approach distances. 3I Atlas follows these predictions with accuracy that defies coincidence. Seismographic networks worldwide report synchronized micro-earthquakes that began when 3I Atlas crossed the heliopause. The tremors follow patterns that match the comet's rotation period and radio pulse timing. Deep drilling projects have detected similar vibrations in rock formations that date to periods when historical records mention unusual comets. 3I Atlas carries one final signature that changes everything. Isotopic analysis of its ice reveals water formed in the presence of heavy elements that exist only in the final moments of stellar collapse. This comet didn't just come from a dead star system, it came from one that died recently, astronomically speaking. Within the last million years, the ice is still warm. Recent excavations at Giza have uncovered a sealed chamber containing astronomical calculations that describe 3I Atlas's arrival with precision impossible for ancient mathematics. The hieroglyphs specify not just the year, but the month and day of closest approach. They call it the final messenger, the one that carries the voice of the dying light.